A few weeks ago, my parents came to visit and help me here on the property, and we did a ton. The day that my dad flew in, we got straight to project. He showed up here, he took a look at the crack shack and said, let's get rid of that room in the corner. Perfect. Let me show you what it looked like before so you can remember how I found this building when I first came to the property. He walked in, looked at the corner, said let's get rid of the meth lab. So we started with that. We ripped out the tub, we took down all the walls, we took down the roof and the supports, and that thing was built way jankier than I thought it was. Once it was out though, we did have a lot of good usable lumber, so I said we just eliminated a whole bunch of good storage, let's build some storage back and let's make it better. After taking out that wall and the surrounding part of the meth lab, we had now so much more space in that side of the shack, which was amazing. Within a day or two, that whole corner of the shack was opened up and we had so much more space. Not only that, but now we had storage up there that was on a flat level plane, one straight piece of plywood, so then I could just toss a whole bunch of bulk materials back up there and get it off the shop floor, which was amazing. I'm going to show you a quick shot of what things look like now to this date and how far we've come in that corner again. You won't even recognize it. Since then, my brother has moved to the property. We transformed that corner into his studio space for his business, and it looks totally different. While Evan and I finished up the storage part above that corner that we had just opened up, my dad went and started taking down one of the structures at the bottom of the property. This used to be Pokey's Steakhouse, as a sign was hung on the front of it, and it had fallen into disrepair. It wasn't worth keeping, so I thought we gotta take it down. My dad took most of it down while Evan and I were working up here, so I didn't get video or time lapse of it, but we were able to jump down there and help him with taking out the big posts that supported the roof and loading up the lumber from that. We did get a lot of good salvageable lumber from there, so we could pile that together and put it to some other projects down the road. One of the chores that I did stick to my dad was to take apart some of the other side pieces that were not a structure at the bottom half, but this fence on the side of the shack and this patio that was left out next to the double wide. A lot of that wood was good and usable. We took those pieces that we had salvaged from those parts and we brought them down to Evelina's sister's house. They have a table saw there when I don't have one here yet, so we took them, ran them through the table saw and put a half lap on each edge of those salvaged pieces of lumber. That way we could use those to the outhouse. Yes, we did work on the outhouse, but I'm not going to show you what we did yet because that's a different video. I've made a whole different series on the outhouse, so we're going to put those parts in the outhouse finished video, which will come out anytime. Besides salvaging some wood, tearing down structures, adjusting the shape of the shack, the biggest project that we worked on while my parents were here was the well house. The challenge was to adjust the way the plumbing worked, but also to rebuild the well house. If you look at the start of this time lapse right here, you'll see that the well house is crooked. That's not because my camera was crooked, the well house is that crooked. So we tipped it over and saw that the foundation was completely rotten out. It had just been set on the dirt with no foundation blocks, no support, no nothing. So our challenge was to rebuild this in a way that it would last and also be strong enough and insulated enough to keep my water system safe throughout the winter.
Tell us what you discovered.
We found the T. Now we have water that goes to our well house and the line that goes to the property.
And we can pressurize the whole thing.
Now we can pressurize them and control the direction of flow rather than just having one squeeze spot and not knowing where the water goes.
Oh man, that was a lot of trenching.
Yep.
And a lot of whole big pile of dirt. The exposed guts of our power water house.
The goal here was to keep the general structure of the well house the same, just rebuild it and beef it up a little bit. That meant a new foundation. We poured some footings. We tried to dig deeper than the frost line, but we hit solid rock. So we poured those footings directly on the rock, hoping that it's going to make at least a connection to that rock, and that rock is going to be more stable beneath the frost line in the winter. Then we built a foundation on those footings on which to put the house back on top. The siding of the well house was bad, so we needed new siding, but the roof structure was the best part of it, so we were able to kind of cut off the roof, rebuild the walls, and set the roof back on top. It was a little bit of a trick for us to get that roof actually back on top of the structure because it was really heavy and we were only a couple people with not a lot of support, but with some barrels and some pallets we were able to kind of shimmy that roof back on top of the structure. With that back on, we could do a little house wrap just to keep moisture under control and put the siding back on. Since finishing that part of the project with my parents, I have put a barn door on there, but we haven't put the final paint and we haven't put a latch or a hose bib on the outside either. The reason I'm waiting on some of those things is because in order for me to put a hose bib, I need to redo the plumbing, and if I'm going to redo the plumbing, it's going to be when I'm adding my treatment system to the well house. I'm currently working on the treatment system right now, but we're going to get there sometime later, and hopefully it's going to work well for my particular water coming out of the well. Besides from those 3 big tasks and a little bit of the outhouse work, which you haven't seen yet, we did do a bunch of other little side tasks, but those I didn't film. Those we kind of just worked on together and spent time together doing this little thing and that little thing, just kind of making this place even more like home. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for coming out. I'm blessed to have parents that are that supportive and willing to spend their time here. Or maybe that's just payback for all the free labor that I gave you as a kid. Thank you again for coming out. I really appreciate you spending your time here, and I look forward to when you come back so we can get even more done. To those of you watching, I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the progress and updates from the property and some of the work that we've been putting in. As always, thank you again for watching, and we'll catch you next time here in the BBU bus. Bye.